Okay, Joseph, in the first segment, we talked about what it felt like to be successful.
Yes, we did.
And you paint the picture of an interesting man. So tell me, what was it like to be a failure?
It was different, to say the least. I remember a time I was walking along the seashore after I had lost my fortune, my 86 companies. I was no longer on the stock market. I'd lost my business, which had been taken over by the government, and it was emotionally a very difficult time in my life. My wife was wonderful, my late wife Valerie. She seemed unfazed by it in the sense that she didn't care when we did have money, and now she didn't care that we didn't have money. But I was walking along the seashore and the water ran up over my feet, and I had no shoes and socks on, and they ran away. And there was something about the sand receding that made me think about my life. It was like my life had receded, and I remember the hours I spent walking on different days, walking up and down the seashore. That's a bit what it's like, and you may say, well, what does that mean? This is what it means. When you have something worthwhile, or you think it's worthwhile, and people respect you for it, and some love you for it, and they admire you for it, then you feel you can go on forever. I remember telling you that when I had money in the bank, I thought nothing could ever go wrong because there was so much money in the bank. When all that is gone, you suddenly feel lost. And what do you turn to? What do you cling to? There I had been on the top of the mountain, and now I was 1 foot from hell. Bad things were being said about me among people. Bad things were said about me by the press. And, the press do their job. They laud you, and they admire you, and they build you up when you're successful, and they go in the opposite direction when you're a failure. And so consequently, I was clearly in shock. I clearly didn't know how I was going to handle it. I clearly didn't like the person I had now become, not wanted by anyone, not admired by anyone, not respected by anyone. And what we'll come to at some point is why it suddenly became so important and valuable and wonderful for me that I was loved by my wife. But we'll come to that at a different time. And so consequently, I had no way of adjusting. I had to think about whether I spent money on a meal. I no longer had a Rolls Royce or a 72 yacht, a 72-foot yacht. I had no way of mixing with people who were important until suddenly I began to think about it. Were they really important? Were they following me around, so to speak, because I could make money for them, or because they cared about me? And I realized they didn't care about me or my family. They didn't care about the talents that I had. They didn't care about who I was or what my ambitions were. They cared about whether, if they invested in me in the stock market, that their shares would go up and they would make money. That's the way the world is. So I became very cynical and very upset with people. I became unwilling to accept the fact that all had gone and unable to understand why my wealth had gone. I was no longer able to lean on something that seemed to have value and importance. And so it began to change my character. And in a future segment, I hope you'll allow me to talk about the fact that everything changed in my life, personally, and everything then changed in my life spiritually.